All right, Monday morning, we're back on the job site. It's been a couple of days of rain, but we got all the areas prepared for landscape work. Let's see where we start. For this project, we're just doing two basic walkways from the house straight to the city sidewalk, one for the main entrance, one for the basement suite. Now have a look at the substrate that we had prepared before we started doing the formwork. Remember last week, we removed all the high dirt and we put road base in place, tamped it down, made a nice working surface ready for the guys to come do the formwork. You see now, this is a nice clean surface work. When the sidewalk gets poured over top, one, it's got less chance for settling, and secondly, it's just much more cleaner without the dirt in the way. And across the front, we plan on putting a retaining wall that's going to start about 3'6" on one end and just go level across, shorter on that side because of the drop in the elevation. But same thing goes for the retaining wall. You always want to make a good preparation for the substrate, make it nice and compacted. Using road base is one of the best materials, and you want to prepare to use rebar as well, because this is something that you don't want to be sagging or breaking in the future. And moving on to the city sidewalk. Now this is one thing that all builders must be aware of. When you work on a new house in Vancouver, the tendency of the city sidewalks to break or crack is very high. So what the city does is they ask you for a deposit up front before you start the construction. And the deposit is refundable once they do a final inspection, making sure you've replaced any broken pieces of the sidewalk so you can get your full refund back. Now in this case, most of the sidewalk was in bad condition to start with, and machines driving over it caused some more breakage to happen. So what we decided to do was just break off all of the broken pieces, including some of the pieces in the neighbor's side, form it all up, have the road base compacted, and have it inspected before we can pour it. Now, one thing to make sure is, in the interim, before you do pour concrete, you always want to make sure you put a little slope here. It's just for the safety of the people who are walking across the sidewalk in the meantime. And then once it's time to pour the concrete, dig this right down to the 4 or 5 inches mark, remove it out of the way, and then pour it to the same thickness as the rest of the sidewalk. Okay, let's move on to the back side and see what we're going to be pouring there. So similar to the front of the property, anywhere you see road base right now that's compacted, this will be a future walkway or a sidewalk. This turns into a landing right here around the front door. And as you walk towards the house, you'll see a big pad that's going to be prepared on the side of the stairs. This is where the AC machine will be located. Typically you want to have a nice flat surface for that machine to be located, and here it is, kind of out of the way. 4-inch thick pad right here. So moving on to the side of the house, you would expect a house like this to have a walkway or a sidewalk, but in this case, we actually won't. So for both sides of the house, the sides will be actually gravel with slabs of concrete marking a small pathway leading to the front. So anytime you build a house in Vancouver, you're subject to areas which are permeable and impermeable. Impermeable surfaces represent areas such as walkways and sidewalks where concrete will be placed, meaning that water cannot easily go through the concrete and dissipate through the ground. Impermeable areas consist of grass, walkways made of gravel with concrete slabs. Those are impermeable, meaning that water can easily pass through. Now, being on a smaller lot, smaller width and smaller depth, this lot restricts us to only certain areas which can use walkways and sidewalks. So for these areas here, we're left with using only gravel or grass, something that allows water to pass through. So unfortunately, this area will only be allowed to use concrete slabs with gravel. We've got formwork happening today. We have concrete planned for the end of this week. Let's see how all this comes together by then.